Welcome back to the workbench. Today I'm taking a look at this, the Revell Avro Lancaster Mark 1/3 in 1/72 scale. Join me as I take a look inside the box and find out what's included. Hi, I'm Matt and you're watching Model Minutes. So today's video is a little bit different than normal because I think this is actually the first 4-engined bomber that I've had a look at on my channel. So on the front of the box we've got a very exciting image of the Lancaster in the sort of standard blue box artwork that we get from Revell, and it seems to be doing some sort of night raid, possibly over Germany, and it's being attacked by a Me-262. Over here on this side of the box it tells us that it's 1/72 scale, and then we've got some dimensions here, and the code number is 04300. On the other corner it tells us that it has super decals. What that exactly means I'm not entirely sure, but they're in there. This edge of the box features some very nice images of elements of the finished model. We can see some nice canopy work, bomb load, engines and internal detail there, and there's also what looks to be a representation of a Merlin engine inside the engine nacelle, so that's pretty interesting. Over here on this side we've got a list of Revell paints that they recommend that you get. Onto the other side we've got your normal health and safety warnings as well as information about the actual Lancaster. The edges of the box feature the same image from the front, but it tells us that it's a skill level 5. Being a skill level 5, that means that this kit has, where is it? A difficult model with over 150 parts. So on the back of the box we've got more images of different kits that are available in the range, along with some other products that are available in the Revell range to help you finish this kit. So let's get inside and take a look. As usual, I'm going to take a look at the instructions first. There should be some decals in here somewhere. Let's just put them to one side. The image here has reasonable detail, but again, being black and white, you're not going to be able to see what colours you'll probably want to use. And then down here we've got information about the actual Avro Lancaster. Flipping over, we've got some information that you should read before you start and some tips on how to construct the model. And then on this side we've got the key to the different symbols that you're going to encounter during the build. And then at the bottom we've got safety information. Flipping over, and we are met with the ever familiar painting instructions from Revell, and as usual I'm not the biggest fan because you have a paint number such as this one here, which is 68, and then they give it a letter, so you have to go through and go, oh right, there's A is which one, and you go back here and you have to keep flipping backwards and forwards. Why didn't they just use the paint numbers where they were going to use them in the instructions? I don't know. Put that to one side, let's move on to the actual step-by-step instructions. So at the top we've got a sprue map, and it tells us that there are some parts in this kit that we're not going to use. So it tells me that some of these props are not going to be used, so there must be different parts in here to build different versions of the kit. And then moving on to the actual stages, we've got the start of the cockpit, and you can see there's a lot going on in there. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I mean we're getting down to like stages 10 and 11 before we even close up the fuselage, so there's a lot going on in there. It seems to me that the turrets, if you don't glue them in, that they should be able to rotate. Progressing down, and then here we are, we've got a engine which you can assemble, and it takes 1, 2, 3-ish steps to be able to do that. It attaches to this sort of bulkhead and framework, which then goes inside the engine nacelle. But looking at this, although I love the fact that they've included an engine, it would seem as you come down here, and as a side note you get 2 different sort of exhaust pipes for the engine, so you can pick which ones you need depending on which version you're building, I guess. But as you get down here, there doesn't seem to be any real way of sort of leaving the covering, the cowling off of the engine to display the engine as if it's been worked on. So I'm not entirely sure why you would have so much detail on the inside, which when you've closed up the model you can't see. So personally, I might find a way of cutting away at the engine cowling so that you can see the engine and it's, you know, perhaps being worked on as part of a diorama, or I might just omit that because you're not going to be able to see it anyway and save it for another project. Okay, let's stop the video there for a minute. So I've just said that this doesn't have any way that you can show off the engine nacelle, and what has actually happened is I haven't paid that much attention to what's actually going on. So past me, this is a message for you. Make sure you look at the instructions before you make a video, because I've actually started making it, and as you can see, the engine nacelle has a cutout that you can remove and display the engine. So if we get to step number 25, it actually tells you that there is a little bit that you can cut out to display the engine on the inside. It only happens for the two inboard engines closest to the fuselage. The outboard engines don't have that, but there is a little tiny question mark here and a knife cut, and there are some little lines on the inside which you can cut and remove. It wasn't entirely clear, but as I was building it and I got to that part, it made more sense. One thing also I didn't mention in this video when past me was making it is that there's no crew, which is a bit of a disappointment. But if you've got some figures lying around and you want to just depict it flying, then it wouldn't be too hard to replace them. But you do need like 6 or 7 figures, because I think that's what a Lancaster had to start with. Anyway, back to you, past Matt. Anyway, moving on. So we're adding the engine nacelles to the wings. Landing gear. It would seem you can put the landing gear up or down in this kit. You have to cut the landing gear doors away from each other if you want them in the down position. So there they are displayed in the up position. And then we've got different bomb loads, and it tells us here what the different bombs you can do. So you can have lots of little bombs, or you can have a mix of this big canister type one or some other one. So it's quite a variety of different loadouts there. Again, the bomb bay comes in 2 halves, which you'll need to cut if you want to position it open, or you can just stick it straight onto the model and display it closed. But again, if you're going to do that, why bother putting the bombs inside? Just save them for another project. Adding the tail fins, the wheel, the rear wheel. If you don't glue it, it should freely rotate. And then progressing down, we've got the nose turret. Again, don't glue that in. And then the canopy. The canopy has different parts depending on which version you're building. Nearly at the end. So we're getting down here, we're adding the prop blades, and then we are progressing down to adding the very small details such as the aerials. So there are 76 steps in this. They don't seem to be particularly difficult or complicated to follow, perhaps being quite small. I mean, there's 10 pages so far of instructions. Yeah, but being quite small, you probably might get a bit lost, so just take your time as you go through this. And then we get on to here, and we've got 2 different paint schemes. The first one is for a Lancaster B Mark III of 100 Squadron, and flipping over the page, we've got a B Mark I of 9 Squadron. So as you go backwards and forwards in the instructions, you must make sure you've picked the right one, because there are a few different parts that you will need. But as far as the engine cannons, I said earlier, the exhausts on these seem to be the exact same ones. So you'll just need sort of the tube ones rather than the individual exhaust pipes. So this one's a little bit different because it's got yellow wing tips and rudders. And this one has E. What's E? Find the painting instructions. E is white. So E has a white part of the rudder there. So this one would be a little bit simpler to do, but there isn't that much between it, to be honest. They've both got the same camouflage pattern. Here as well, it also tells you where you can place a thin thread for the aerial if you so prefer. And as always, a little bit annoying because I find that these different shades are sometimes a little bit difficult to follow, but seeing as there's only 3 or 4 in this one to use, you'll probably be okay. It shouldn't be too bad. So that's the instructions. As normal, there is a safety warning sheet, which comes in every Revell kit, and then we have the decals. So we've got some common ones, which are the main wing roundels, internal parts like the cockpit controls, and the harnesses for the seats, and then other markings such as the walkways. And then on this side we've got the two different insignia for the two aircraft. These seem to be done to the usual standard from Revell, and I can't imagine having any problems with applying these to the kit. The printing is quite well done. As you can see there, the control panels have got quite a good degree of printing on them, so hopefully they go onto the model quite well. So let's progress on to the bag of bits. They come contained within one big plastic bag, and then some of them come in their own little bags. Some of them are just loose in the main one. So let's take a look at the loose ones first. And there's, as I said, the skill level 5, so it indicates there's over 150 parts. So on this sprue we've got half of the fuselage, and we've got propellers, and you can see that there's paddle propellers rather than pointed propellers as well. So some of these parts are not going to be used as indicated by the instructions. We've got parts for the bombs, and the moulding quality looks to be really good. There is recessed panel lines as appropriate throughout the model, and there is some flash in places, but it's not too bad. A little bit of cleaning up will be needed here and there. The mould quality seems to be really good. Raised detail on the inside there. The plastic feels a bit flexible, but it's also very smooth, so watch out for that when you come to paint it. It doesn't feel greasy, but you might want to give this a wash just to be safe. The panel lines, though, as I said, are quite shallow, so you might lose them a bit if you apply thick coats of paint. Bit of flash there that needs removing, but that's okay. So that's one sprue. Take a look at the next sprue. So we've got the other half of the fuselage here, and we've got engine nacelles, wheels, again a little bit of flash there, and here's a representation of the engine, so we'll get in close for that. It's quite a nice addition, but like I said, I'm probably going to keep that and use it as a spare part in another project, because I don't see the point of including it if you can't see it. Other various parts there as well. The moulding is quite good. So we've got those two big sprues. Let's move on to something a bit smaller. Let's get this bag open. So in this bag we've got 3 sprues, what's sort of like 2.5. So on this first one here we've got the bomb bay door, the bomb bay where you attach the bombs, and then the rudders as well. And the moulding on those is quite good. Again, just a little bit of flash that you might need to remove. The wings and the tail surfaces and some smaller components as well, and they seem to be quite well moulded. Generally there's quite a running theme in this. It seems to be quite a good representation of the Lancaster. I remember building the old Lancaster from Airfix some years ago, and the detail on this is much better than the detail on that one. Hopefully it builds up all right. What I quite like the look of here, I'm getting closer, is you can see the detail on the control panels, and also you can see detail on the seats as well. So when you put your decals on for the harnesses, they should fit on that quite nicely, I hope, fingers crossed. So those are the wing parts. Right, let's keep going because there's more to look at. This is the last bag of greyish green sort of parts. Let's get that open. Nothing loose in the bag so far. So in this one we've got 2 sprues. And these are all sort of repeats of the other ones. We've got more bombs, more propeller blades. I think this is almost a carbon copy of the other sprue we had earlier. And then on this one we've got more wheels and nacelles as well, so it's pretty much almost identical to the previous sprues we had. And then the last one to take a look at is the clear parts, and there will be quite a lot of clear parts in this. Let's get that out. It's all sticking together. Right, and there's something loose here. One of the parts has actually come off there, so just be careful of that when you come to get these out, that you could have bits loose in the bag, so just don't lose them. But here we've got all the canopies, and this sprue actually has the most flash on it of all of the parts, and that's saying something because there's only really a bit there and a bit there that we can see. The plastic, the clear plastic, is crystal clear. There doesn't seem to be any scratches or blemishes that I can see. Let's get in, let's zoom in. The canopy lines are raised, but they're not as pronounced as on some other manufacturers' kits. There's a bit of a scuff on that one, but that's going to be painted black, so that shouldn't be too noticeable. But yeah, generally these clear parts look to be really nicely done. Bit of flash in there that will need cleaning out. Cool, so let's recap. We've got one clear sprue. Let's put that one back in there. Let's see if I can get it all back in the box without losing or breaking anything. One clear sprue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 greenish grey plastic sprues, which are to a good quality. Let's get that all in one bag there so I know where they are. Hopefully I'll find time to build this one soon. Right. A nice set of decals for 2 different versions of the model. Safety instruction sheets and instructions which are sort of to the normal standard from Revell, but as always they could be better. All of that comes contained inside this nicely illustrated box. If you can get it back in the box. These things never seem to go back in as well as they came out. There we go, in you go. There it is. So this model retails for about £20 in the UK at the time this video was made. This was actually given to me as a gift, so someone else paid for it for me. This tooling was new in 2007, and I think that it pretty much shows because it's really quite nice. There is a little bit of flash in places, but that will happen over time as the tooling gets used. This kit has had other releases over the years. It's had a dam bursters version, or it's been included as part of a model set. So there are different versions of this available out there, but this version should still be available in some stockists. But I'm looking forward to getting started on this, and it should be quite a nice addition to my modelling collection. Hopefully I've got the time to have a go at it now. So let me know in the comments below, would you get one of these for yourself? Is this a model kit that you'd be interested in buying? As always, honourable mention to my patrons over on Patreon. A massive thank you to you for the assistance you give me in making sure that my channel can continue to make videos. To find out more about what becoming a patron means and the perks it gets you, take a look at the links in the description. As always, don't forget that you can connect with me on social media. I'm on Discord, Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. All that's left to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you all on the workbench again next time. So this is a message to you, past Matt. Make sure you read the instructions before you do a video. Okay? Got it? I don't want to have to step in again. Alright then. See you later.